There will never be another Matt Holt. Matt Holt was the singer for a band called Nothing Face. And I just found out yesterday that he passed away at the age of 39. Nothing Face is my all-time favorite band. And Matt Holt is my all-time favorite singer. This man had a very intelligent way with words and the way he delivered them, and his metaphors and the knowledge in his head. His scream vocals were better than anyone else ever. His clean vocals were better than anyone else ever, and let alone the way he changed between the two, the way he switched back and forth. Then there was his lyrics. His lyrics were harsh truths about things he knew in his head and things he had seen, and the way he delivered them. I first came across Nothing Face. This was early 1999. There was a show here on Dayton Public Access. It was Channel 23, and it came on midnights at Friday night. It was called Metalomania. Metalomania would sometimes play the videos for Breathe Out and Pacifier. At this time, Nothing Face had two albums out. They had an audio guide to Everyday Atrocity and Pacifier. I was able to finally come across a copy of an audio guide to Everyday Atrocity. Both of them were hard albums to find. I believe I had to special order them from like a used CD store. I remember first listening to an audio guide to Everyday Atrocity all the way through. And there was something about the guitarist of this band is Tom Maxwell. And there was something about his riffs. He used a lot of polyrhythms. And then I believe their bass player, Bill Gall, definitely his bass sound. And they had two drummers. Their first drummer I believe his name is now Chris Hoke, or Hoik. He was their original drummer. And then a couple years later, a little bit before Violence came out, Tommy Sickles replaced him. But I remember that an audio guide to Everyday Atrocity, some of my favorite songs on there, like Villains and Breathe Out, and I'm trying to think, Gold Tooth and Grinning, just the lyrics within these songs. And the polyrhythms are just something that has never really been seen before or seen since. A few months later, I ended up being able to get a hold of a copy of Pacifier. Now, this is their first album. I remember seeing the video for Pacifier on Metal Mania. I just remember this might be my favorite music video of all time. And for one reason is it looks like it's very cheaply made. It's low resolution, and they didn't put a lot of money into this video, and that's what I respect in artists. It doesn't matter, to me, even what your lyrics are, what you're wearing. If you do yourself properly and you don't look like Steven Spielberg directed your fucking video, I think you'll go far. We'll go far in the underground. That's all that really matters, because that's where the real audience is, and not selling your music to fucking soccer moms. But the song Pacifier, I remember some of those lyrics like "Take my savior, take my pacifier." I related to a lot of these lyrics. There was, the first song on the album was called One Thing, and just the way it starts out with the kind of the cymbal, and that guitar kind of coming in there. This is your one chance at my one thing. And God, the lyrics to these, and there is a part on one of the songs, I can't remember what song it is, but Tom Maxwell's doing something with his guitar where it actually sounds like a woman that's being tortured, and this is kind of the bridge part of the song. I remember the song Undercut on that album really, that did something when I listened to it. Didn't have a typical song structure. It had the typical kind of heavy verse, chorus, but then the whole last half of the song, it goes into kind of this more lighter thing and something that I think has a lot of meaning to it. I remember that album ended with a song called Communion. There was something, I don't know, that song did something to me when I listened to it. But after that, they had their third album, which was called Violence. I remember when I first saw that album, I was also at like a local CD store. This was there's a couple locations now. They're referred to as buybacks. There's one at Beaver Creek and there was one by the Dayton Mall, but this is when it used to be called CD Warehouse, and it was across the street over there, like right over in that area. I remember saying, like, I was like, oh shit, Nothing Face has a new album out. It's called Violence, apparently. And I remember looking at the back and just the way it mentioned, it had the members of the band on the back and what they did and just their description of the band. I believe it had Matt Holt, and that was screams, threats, curses, and verses. I'm like, that's fucking genius right there. That is badass. And then it had for Tom Maxwell, it had guitar molestations. I'm like, and it kind of made me think of that track on Pacifier where the guitar effects sound like a woman that's basically about to be raped. And this is just, I have a lot of passion for this band. This is an intense band this band means a lot to me. But I think Violence is definitely where they definitely perfected, some sounds here, because this is a band that really bounces back and forth between playing heavy and playing light, and their melodic stuff, it sounds beautiful. It makes you feel something beautiful, but the rough side, the heavy side brings out, the aggression in you and things that make you angry, and you want to listen to music and think about stuff and take it out that way. But Violence was around the time they were kind of becoming noticed, and I remember they did a tour with Pantera that year, and this was where people were starting to learn what Nothing Face was and what Nothing Face meant. Some of the songs now, there's one called Make Your Own Bones. Some of these song titles, I don't know. I just think they're really creative. And there was a song, the way it's beautiful in a melodic way, it's heavy all at the same time, is this track called For All the Sin. It was track 4 on the album. This, I don't know, that was definitely a really good album. And then their final album was called Skeletons. Now, this is definitely my favorite album by them. To me, this album, it was the heaviest album. It was both the heaviest, I'm trying to think how to explain this, stumbling a little bit. It had the heaviest stuff they've ever done along with the lightest stuff they've ever done. And just one of the main tracks, Murder is Masterbation, the name right there is just fucking genius. And some of the heavy songs, like I believe it's Machination, like I'm trying to think here. You're robotized for the dark government. There was more political and anti-Christian themes within the Skeletons album. And you definitely saw the lighter side of them. I believe the song was Patricide. I'm not the devil, and that's not true. I'm just not like you. I remember this other track. It was called, there was I Am Him, which I think there's a lot of truth in that song. And there's also Scission. I remember the chorus of Scission was like, lost in the catacombs, somehow I'm feeling at home. There was like a very isolated feel to that song. It wasn't a heavy one, but it definitely hit me hard. Matt Holt was a complete inspiration in my life. The things he had been through and his lyrics and the way he projected his lyrics, along with the other members, especially what Tom Maxwell was doing in that band, the way he viewed the guitar. When I came across this band, there was a lot of stuff going on in my life. And it wasn't necessarily good. And this band, Matt Holt and Nothing Face, saved my life. I am still alive because this band existed. And this will forever always be my favorite band. So Matt Holt, thank you for everything you ever did to me. Rest in peace.